So today's video is a little bit different. As you can see, my yard is a mess. I needed to take the yard down a foot or so in this spot and slope it up toward the house. Had some issues with water going toward the house. So needed to rent a small piece of machinery. Now I've got a hedge and a gate that's too small for any kind of big loader to come through. So I was going to rent a Toro Dingo. And if you don't know what that is, it's a small ride behind piece of machinery. I was going to rent one from a place right here in town. So I was in San Diego and I stopped by this booth, and on the TV was some video of a loader that was exactly what I needed to rent. And it's all electric, which is amazing. And I said, man, I wish I could rent this. I'm getting ready to rent one of these. And the rep there was like, oh, well, where are you located? And I said, well, I'm in North Carolina. He said, well, we're based out of Asheville, North Carolina. And I was like, what? That's where I'm at. Turns out their warehouse is 25 minutes from me. The place where they rent these is 35, 40 minutes away. That's crazy. What are the chances? So this company makes electric equipment, one of them being exactly what I needed. And so I rented one. And as you can see, I've already started using it. I used it a few hours already, just to kind of get a hang of the controls. But just need to dig this down, smooth it out, and slope it up toward the house. And yeah, let's bring it in. As you can tell, it's quiet. You can barely hear it. The loudest thing is raising and lowering the bucket, which is nothing. So I'll bring this back in. Yeah, so this is as loud as it gets. I mean, that's amazing. And it's remote controlled. So I don't have to ride on it. And since I've never used one of these, anything like it, I would not want to be on the back of one. The way it bounces when you hit something or digging and it kind of hangs on the ground, I would not really want to be riding on it, being inexperienced. This would have taken a lot longer, been a lot noisier, and yeah, I mean, so just to take a quick look, it's really basic. It's, you know, got the arm that raises and lowers, the hinge at the top, which lets you raise and lower the bucket. So really basic, but yeah, it's fun to use. The fact that it's quiet and remote controlled. And not only that, if you're doing something inside, like let's say you have a dirt basement and you need to dig out, or you know, anywhere where there's any risk of fumes, there are no fumes. You can use this inside. You can use it at night because it's not going to disturb your neighbors. If I have it in the top corner of my yard, up that way by the shed, and I'm down here, I can't hear it running. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, I mean, so far, I'm not done, obviously. I've got some work to do, but so far it has been fun. It's been awesome. I'm really looking forward to getting this job done, and I wish I had a reason to buy one. But the fact that they're so close, I can rent one anytime I need it or want it to have fun. I wish I could get the bigger loader, the skid steer, into my yard. That would just be so fun to use. Kind of geeking out over this thing. So I'm not a heavy equipment guy, so I don't have all the answers to some of the more in-depth technical questions as far as how it compares to a Toro Dingo, but I can say the fact that uses no fuel, there's very little maintenance, it's quiet, and no fumes. I mean, that alone makes it worth it over a Toro Dingo. Even if it costs more, you're probably going to make that back in savings on maintenance and fuel. So this is made by First Green Industries, These are made in the Czech Republic. They import these. The U.S. headquarters, like I said, is right here in, I think technically it's Hendersonville. Their warehouse is in Arden near Asheville Airport. They've got this little loader. They've got, like I said, a full-size skid steer. You can get through a whole day with these and then plug them in, charge them overnight, and then get another day's work out of them. And I think that's pretty awesome. So I'm going to get to work and get as much done as I can while I've got it. Starting up is super easy. First thing we got to do is unlatch these two latches here. Lift this up. See, that's the battery connector there. We'll put our key in right here. Turn it. And you'll see, hard to see in the sun, but the voltage on the battery is at 100%. Now that is not the charge. The lithium-ion version will have a display that shows your state of charge. This does not. This is lead-acid batteries. So that's it. That's all you need to do to start. And on the remote, pop this safety switch up. This will press in. And I don't know if you could hear that click on video, but that means it connected. The lights are green. And make sure we close this. Try to do this one-handed. Watch that. All right. So got the remote. Super easy. I've already got a load of dirt in this. We pull down to lift up. Push up to go down. We'll pull back up. Really basic. Push to the left to turn that way, and the right to turn that way. Now for forward and back, we've got a rabbit and a turtle. So, again, I'm trying to do this one-handed, holding the phone on the turtle. I'll show you going forward on the turtle. Obviously, if we push up, it will go forward, down will go backwards. The left and right, if you just push hard left or right, it will only, it'll turn the tracks opposite direction, so it'll do a spin. If you're moving and you push kind of diagonal left, it will turn left as you're going forward. So again, forward, that's turtle speed. And we'll switch this over to rabbit. Push up. Much faster. So most of the work I've done so far, I've used rabbit. Only used turtle if I really need to inch my way along. But yeah, it's super easy to use. So, discovered something. I had a dip in the ground back here, and so when I scooped off the top where that dip was, I found something. Turns out my septic tank has, I don't know, the top part of the top is collapsed or something. So, yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that I wasn't walking on top of that. So this thing literally could have saved my life or prevented injury at least, and a really big mess. So yeah, I knew the dip was there. Wasn't sure what it was from, but scooped a layer off on top of it, and there's just a hole straight down into the septic tank. So this area here will not be dug out. I'm not going to drive the machine over this. I've done some digging by hand around the sides, but haven't dug right there. I put this big piece of plywood over the hole, and getting the county to come out and someone to look at it, see what I've got to do, either repair or replace my septic tank. It's a very old one. It's the old concrete kind with the concrete slab lids. So I'm guessing that one of those slabs, and I think it's the middle one, broke maybe from the ground. I'm not sure. My septic is deeper than it should be. It's between 2 and 3 feet down. So I think there's way too much dirt on top. So digging this down is going to help that. And with the rain going straight here instead of out here, that ground would have been really wet when we had tons and tons of rain over the summer. So yeah, I'm done over there. I've already planted grass seed and put hay down. I've got to dig this area down a little more. I ran some water to test, and it's not quite sloped enough. So I'm going to do that in this area here and leave that alone. And that whole area is where the septic tank is. So from about here over to there is my septic tank. Yeah, nice mess, but I'm glad that that thing scooped the dirt off for me instead of me standing on it. That would not have been good. All right, I'm gonna get to work and get some more digging done. All right, so here we are. This is all done now, except for obviously the spot where the septic tank is. We'll have to figure that out after we find out if it has to be repaired or replaced. But yeah, all the rest of the grading here is done. Nice slope down. Got grass seed planted on this side. This won't have to be touched, but over here, it's gonna be a mess either way. Yeah, I've got a nice runoff. I ran some water. As you can see, it's wet, and the water runs nicely out toward the gate over there. And got kind of a mess going up where I had the tracks going up. And up there, we're going to smooth out all that dirt to fix that low spot around that tree. So unfortunately, after all this work is done, this nice grading, turns out we've got to get a new septic tank. The lid and one side had partially collapsed. And yeah, so we're gonna have to get a new septic tank put in right beside it. That's happening in a couple days. And yeah, glad I did not drive that machine over where the ground had sunken in a little. That would have been a disaster. And I'm also glad that I did not walk over that, or jump up and down or something like that. That would have been a huge mess. So figured, since I'm just waiting for this to get replaced. I've got this giant hole in my backyard that I'd make the best of it and decorate it for Halloween. So I brought Bones out. If you remember Bones from a few years ago in my Smart Summon videos. Yeah. So anyway, glad that I found this. Glad that I found it by scooping the dirt off and not by falling into it. That would have been awful. So I wanted to just run through some of the frequently asked questions that I know some of you have about this equipment. As far as price, the Mini Z here starts at about $50,000. Now that's current pricing as of, what is today? October 9th, 2022. Obviously prices on things have been changing a lot, so that could go up, could go down, but for now it starts at $50,000. Not sure exactly how that compares to your diesel powered equivalents, but I did see a Toro Dingo listed online. It was a 2021 used, and it was listed for $50,000. So I would say it's pretty comparable. Even if you can get a Dingo for a little less, you know, the cost in maintenance and fuel is probably going to make up for that pretty quickly. Now the Elise, the bigger one, the skid steer, it's $100,000. And again, what I could find as far as pricing on a Bobcat, I think it was an S850. That one was $73,000 that I found. So a little bit more. I don't know, you know, as far as specs, if it's the equivalent one. But that was the one I could find that looked the closest, and it was, you know, 27 less. But I can imagine that the fuel for the Bobcat is quite a bit more than charging up the Elise. So battery size. The Mini Z has a battery that is 11 kilowatt hours. The run time on it is about 10 to 12 hours. So that's, you know, dependent on how much, you know, actual loading, lifting, and whether you're running it in rabbit mode versus turtle mode more. So your range could be, you know, a little less than that or even more than that if you're just doing light moving. So 10 to 12 hours on the Mini Z. Now the Elise, the skid steer, has a run time of about 7 to 8 hours, and that's on a 48 kilowatt hour battery. Now dimensions of this, as you can see, I'm sitting in it, it's not very wide. The overall width is 31 inches, which means it can go through even a narrow door, standard narrow door, 32 inch door. So you can get it in pretty tight places, which is great for anyone who has, you know, a smaller yard like I do. I have half an acre. Don't really have easy access anywhere into my yard from the road. Now the hinge pin height, which is back here, when it's fully lifted, that's 86 inches. When it's all the way down, I didn't measure that. I would say it's 4 feet, maybe. I'd have to check. So the length of the machinery itself, with the arm raised, the bucket lifted, so just the machine itself, it's about 5 feet long, which means it would fit in the bed of a Cybertruck, which also means it could charge in the Cybertruck while it's in the bed of the Cybertruck, and then the bucket would just have to hang over the tailgate. It would also technically fit in the bed of a Ford F-150 Lightning as far as the length, just barely, and it would definitely not fit in a Rivian bed. But that brings us to the weight. So the weight of this is about 3,300 pounds. The load capacity in the bed of the Cybertruck is 3,500 pounds. So again, it would work as long as the ramp in the Cybertruck, well, first, if that ramp makes it to production, and if that ramp can hold that load pulling into it. If not, you'd have to come up with another way to load it into the bed. but the Cybertruck could carry it in theory, based on the weight and the length, and then it could plug into the back of the Cybertruck, which, if that plug works while in motion, would be awesome because you could charge it while you're going from work site to work site. Now, the load capacity on the Lightning, unfortunately, is much less. I think it's 2,200 pounds, maybe a little more. So this definitely could not ride in the Lightning. Lengthwise it would fit, but it would be hard to get a ramp that would work to get it up in there, and then it's too heavy for it. But maybe, you know, in a couple years, maybe Ford will release an F-250 Lightning, in which case that would probably work, especially if they do an extended bed, a 6.5 foot bed. And then of course the Rivian can't hold anywhere near that. The Rivian is 1,700 pounds. Now, as far as weight that it can lift, obviously I'm sitting in this, is no problem for me. It can hold almost 900 pounds, which is basically 4 of me plus my dog. On rabbit mode, the top speed of this is 3.1 miles per hour, which is not super fast, but fast enough. You don't want to be going any faster than that doing stuff in your yard. There are lots of attachments for the Mini Z. As you can see here, there's a plug here. This is for powered attachments. The website has lots of attachments listed. You can scroll down here and see there are lots of different things you can get. And if there's something that you need but you don't see, you can actually contact them and they can customize attachments for this. So a couple other specs you might be interested in if you're into equipment like this. The hydraulic oil pressure is 2,175 psi. It's got an oil flow rate of 6.6 gallons per minute, and the reservoir is 7.9 gallons. So are there any cons to owning this? Probably not. I would say the charging time is one, and then the fact that there's no way to tell how much charge is on it. It would be really cool if there was a display somewhere on the top that was easy to read in the sunlight. Just a really basic, show the battery, a battery icon maybe, and then a percentage, just so you know how much charge is left, because you have no idea what the charge is while you're using it. You know, how much is left. If you walk out and turn it on, you don't know. It would just be nice to have that indicator at a glance really quickly to see that. The other con would probably be charge time in some cases. For the most part on 110, it takes about 4 hours to charge it up, and that's okay. I mean, most of the time you're gonna do a day's worth of work. 10 hours is more than enough for most days, and then you plug it into a 110 and that's fine. But if you're using this all the time, like non-stop, you probably want to charge quicker. And for that, I recommended that they look into putting a J1772 on this. Even if it was a lower kilowatt charger, even if it cut the time in half, down to 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half, to charge it from empty to full again, would be really awesome if you're on a work site and you go take a lunch break and you can get, let's say, 80% of your charge on your lunch break. That would be really cool. You could start out super early in the day, run it maybe 8 hours, take a lunch break, run it another 8 hours, and then, you know, you've got 2 full days worth of work out of one day, which I think some people would need. Most people know if you're just using this on a farm or, you know, smaller construction sites where it's, you know, 10 hours is more than enough for a day and you're not going to work any more than that anyway. That's fine. So I don't really consider it a con. It's just something I would recommend that they do. Other than that, yeah, there's nothing I would say is not great about this. It's really cool. I love how quiet it is. I love zero emissions and not dealing with diesel. Plug it in at home in any outlet. Super convenient. And then the price just isn't that much more than what you're going to pay for a brand new diesel machine that's similar. But yeah, just wanted to kind of run through these questions. I know you'd ask probably some more that I haven't thought of. Ask them down in the comments and I'll try to get some answers if I don't know the answer. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you the next time.